Welcome, everybody. This is your favorite podcast with your host, Bryan Karp, Mailbox Money, and my co-host, Anthony Loffredo, aka The Professor, and this is the Brick to Brick podcast. This afternoon, I have an incredible guest for you guys. I have Jonathen Hawk from Franklin Street, and Jonathen is one of the top multifamily and commercial brokers in all of Tennessee, and I'm just so excited to have him here. We're going to chop it up for the next 30 to 40 minutes, and we're going to ask all the questions that you guys want to know about multifamily real estate and everything happening in Tennessee. Welcome, Jonathen.
Hey, appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. Why don't we start off? Tell us a little bit how you got in the game of real estate and then how you decided to go commercial into the multi and not to the low-hanging fruit residential that everyone else goes to.
Yeah. So I started over a decade in the business, started back in the end of 2014. I was actually living in Cincinnati, Ohio at the time. So I moved up there and was actually in financial planning, insurance, and was just kind of getting burnt out with that. Had a lot of friends that were in commercial real estate, and the money I felt like was a little bit better and a lot more exciting. So really liked their stories, and ended up meeting a guy at a networking event who ran Marcus and Millichap office there in Cincinnati. So everybody's familiar with them, and they're the kind of the big commercial real estate firm, and so it was a great place to learn the business. But I started out as you kind of get paired with a senior mentor. You don't really get to pick kind of what your passion is or what you want to go product type you want to get in. So we were doing office and industrial, and then got recruited to move to Nashville to start an office with another guy with a company that just strictly did multifamily, and figured that was a great opportunity for me, and moved here to Nashville, and that was 7 years ago, almost to the day. It was actually July 18th, seven years ago. Back
happy anniversary 7 years ago.
Yeah. So moved here, started that office, built an 8-man team. And, we were doing more probably tertiary markets, value add, mixed in with a little bit of student housing, just really anything we could get our hands on. And then, left there after 4 years and opened up the office for Franklin Street. So had the opportunity to come over here and really build my own team and founding member of their company for the office here in Nashville. And over the last 3 years, I've built a team of 4 other guys. We recently brought on a managing director that'll be, kind of hiring for all product types, because we are a full brokerage shop. So while I don't, know anything about the retail space or any of that, we've got guys that do that. We also, project management, insurance. So pretty much anything real estate related, our company handles it, but I just stick with stay in my lane of multifamily is what I know. So that's a kind of a brief overview here of me.
That's awesome! Wow. So 10 years, and I can see the origin of how it all came together. Tell me a little bit. I'm dying to know, what was the multifamily market when you first got into it in 2014? Was it like blood in the streets, or were people just all mom and pop owners? Like, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, no. So actually, the first deal I ever did, surprisingly enough, was with a big institutional group. But it was, a lot of the help of the senior guy that I was working with. But things were starting to kind of rebound. But I feel like the guys that were in our office that were really crushing it, they had been in the business for a while, so they already had those relationships. So this is a relationship business. I mean, it takes time, even coming in, even if you come in a good market, you may get a few deals done because the market's so hot, but, you're going to get weeded out by, the other relationships. And so I feel like the best time to come into business is when, when the market's not that great.
Absolutely.
But and then when I moved to Nashville, I was almost like starting over, because I was a new product type. No one really knew my name. Our firm wasn't a large, we were a private company. So no one knew who we were. So we were competing, against everyone. And, so we, kind of had to, uh, we were going out more into the tertiary market. So whether it was in Tennessee or Kentucky or Northern Alabama, those were really the value add deals that we were really chasing and looking. And, so that's kind of how we, got our name. And then from there, it kind of took off to where our clients were starting to buy more Class A deals, or they were, buying, LIHTC, affordable housing, workforce housing, whatever it was. Different strategies changed, and then even some of those groups that were just value add, they started, developing some deals, and we were selling development land, and just kind of growing with clients. And that's the fun part about working, more with the private guys and family offices is, it's typically their money or somebody close to theirs money that they're using, and they've got some great stories. Maybe they started, buying duplexes or something like that, scaled it to a 10 unit, and then scaled that 10 unit to a 20 or 50 and then 100. So it's really nice, getting to watch those stories and growing with those clients. And then, we still deal with the institutions as well, but I feel like the deeper relationships come with the private client base.
I love, you hit so many big things there. Like number one, and I love it, is it's a relationship game. And it's not a quick relationship game. When Anthony and myself decided we were going to start purchasing bigger multifamilies in Tennessee, we literally, instead of hunting deals, we went out there and we spent multiple, trips just meeting with brokers. Yep. And just trying to build that personal relationship. We even, we're New York guys, so we brought bagels from New York and went to all the offices, and we just had one-on-one meetings with a lot of the multifamily brokers that sold the product that we purchased, because we just wanted to build relationships. Yep. And so I think that's tremendous, and I love that you also said that, like, growing with your clients. Right, they might have started entry level with a smaller product, but then being that you've been in the game for over a decade, they started with C deals and B deals, and now they're moving into new construction, A class, and other products like that. I love it. I think both those were mic drops.
Yeah, yeah, and you guys are doing it right. I mean, meeting with the brokers, and building those relationships to where you're getting the deals, you're getting maybe first look at it, or if it's an off-market deal, they know what you're looking for. And like, just in the short time I've spent with you guys, I've got a better understanding of what you're looking for. So if I send you a deal, I know it's going to be a fit for you or pretty close. And you don't get those deals if you're but not building the relationship with the broker, or that they don't know you're a closer. Because we get calls all the time, and everybody's like, "Oh, send me off market deals, send me this, send me that." And and then I always get cracked up. I'm like, "What type of deals are you looking for?" And everyone's answer is always the same: "I'm looking for good deals." Well, I'm like, "Well, what is a good deal?"
What's a good deal to you isn't a good deal to me.
Exactly. So I need a little bit more on that, a little bit more feedback. But as brokers, we really appreciate the guys that come in, especially from out of state and out of town. Meet with us, get that face interaction, and then let's work on some deals together and grow together. And then once you close one deal, it's much easier for the next one for you guys. So, and especially if we're talking to a seller, we're like, "Hey, we've already closed with these guys. We know they're legit. We can really push." Even when you're not always the top offer, we're all looking, for the best, the best buyer that's going to get the deal closed, and with the least amount of headache and the smoothest process. So, that's all things that that you want to, you're working with the broker on too, to get that point across.
That was very important for us to kind of go down there, to legitimize ourselves, and kind of introduce ourselves in a way that we do what we say we're going to do. If we say we're going to buy something, we come through and we get it to the finish line. So that was definitely one of our first main objectives, when we started up the fund.
And to give you a little insight about Anthony and myself's origin story, I've been investing in real estate, and I've been a residential real estate broker for almost 2 decades. And Anthony is one of the top fix and flip and new construction builders in Long Island. And the whole thing came together. I have a pretty large multifamily portfolio in New York, which is a disaster being a landlord in New York. And I'll tell you a story. Last night, in one of my 5 families, and a 5-family in New York is worth about $2.5 million compared to a 50-unit in Tennessee for $2.5 million. We had a tenant steal another tenant's meter. So literally, it's got a 5-meter bay, and the meters are all electronic here in New York. So the tenant snipped the casing, and when nobody was home, took his meter, put it in theirs, and their meter there, and the meters get shut off from the electric company. So this poor old woman, or poor older woman and her husband, had no power. So my guys are there. I even personally stop by. We can't figure this out. We call National Grid, and that's our electric company, and they say to her, PSE&G, they said, "Hey, your electric's on." Her electric was on, feeding the other tenants' apartment. So New York, buying home real estate is a disaster, and I have about 19 multis here, and Anthony has a pretty big portfolio. We came together about 2 years ago, and we've had so many people watch us build. I'm one of the number one, I actually am the number one residential real estate broker in Suffolk County. They've watched us build our businesses, and everyone always said, we want to invest. So we said, all right, we're going to now invest, but we chose where to invest, and we chose the asset class we wanted to invest in, and that's what led us to Tennessee.
Yeah. Gotcha.
What kind of markets do you kind of focus in? I know you're in Nashville, but how far out do you go?
Yeah, so pretty much my team and I, whether it's me or someone on my team, we're covering all of Tennessee. So, from east to west, north to south. So, primarily for me in the last several years, it's been, West Tennessee or Nashville or East Tennessee as far as Knoxville. Sold just over 400 units in Knoxville last year. And just a little over, I think it was 53 million last year was there in Knoxville. And then, did a fairly large LIHTC portfolio last year as well. And those properties were kind of a mix of all over, from Tennessee to, even Kansas, Oklahoma. They were just a seller that owned in multiple states that was looking to unload a few. And so we sold those for him, and, it was a past client. And, but right now it's been a little slow in Nashville, just to be completely honest with everything here. So we've looked more in outside of Nashville. Knoxville's a great story, Chattanooga, there's West Tennessee, Jackson, even Memphis is starting to get a little bit of love here with some job announcements and different things. So that's I think has helped that whole West Tennessee market of Jackson, and I'm sure you guys are seeing it in Dyersburg, things like that on properties that you own there, and all that. But and then typically don't go too much further into Alabama other than like Huntsville, Birmingham, really no further than that. And then I've got a guy that covers the whole state of Kentucky. So we've done quite a bit of deals in Kentucky over the years, whether it's Bowling Green, Louisville, Lexington, the Western Kentucky, Paducah area. So really, all those markets, we try to cover at some point, but based here in Nashville, covering all those.
What is what is the deal size that you're usually covering? Would you say you're more of the bigger 100 unit plus, or are you playing more in that 50 to 70 range? What do you guys focus on, or you're totally open to the whole gamut?
Yeah, we sell everything. The associates I have on my team, they're really covering the 100 units and below, and I ideally go everything 100 units and above. We one of my newer guys closed a 10 unit deal in Columbia, so that's probably about as small as we'd go. But then like I said, last year, that La Tech portfolio was over 800 units.
Wow.
So it's a big, you know, really broad, but the team's big enough to where we can cover all of that. So we've got it broken out really into territories and unit counts, and so they're, whether you're meeting with me or anybody on my team, it's, we work out of the same database, the same notes, the same CRM system. So if it's you're talking to me, I'm putting you in contact with one of my guys that's probably a little bit more in tune to that unit count or that sub market. If they're talking to you and it's above where they're working at, then they put you in contact with me. So we're still covering everyone, and then even clients that we have that own product, that own properties outside of our markets. We've got offices all throughout um, Florida, Atlanta, Charlotte, Dallas, Austin, Cincinnati, and then here in Nashville. So we collaborate as a company. So we're always making introductions with other offices that can, because if you've got a deal down in Florida, I'm not going to be the guy for you. We've got teams of all across Florida that sell hundreds of millions of dollars worth of multifamily every year. So they'd be a lot better for you. So I'd rather put you in contact with them, and it's going to be a better service for you. As they would do the same for me if it was in my neck of the woods. They send them here. So we're everyone that's well, not everyone, but it's a lot of crossover, because if you own in Georgia, you usually own in Tennessee. If you own in Tennessee, you usually own in Kentucky, and South Carolina or North Carolina. So there's always a lot of crossover with different owners.
Would you say most of your clients are institutional, or most of your clients are one-offs or family offices? Where do you see most of your client base from?
Yeah, so it's a mixture. Like that 10 unit, that was just a guy here in town that he was a developer, and he wanted a different project, wanted something he could come in, do some renovations on. It was value add deal, but it was it's what everyone looks for. It was an A plus, A plus area, but probably a C minus property. And as we all know, you can change the property, you can't change the area. So he bought that and is doing some renovations there. But this was his first deal in multifamily, but new real estate, new development, all the way to institutional clients, and that's who bought in that or Knoxville last year, and then my La Tech portfolio. So really, like I said, the team's big enough to where we're if we're helping you buy your first deal, or we're helping the institution groups, we're everything in between.
What do you, and this is self-serving, where do you see the market right now, July or late July 2025? Do you feel that the owners are starting to come around to the new numbers with the higher interest rates, or do you feel like what's your pulse on it? Because you're so, you're in this game, you're an inside player.
Yeah, so I feel that it's still some education out there that we're doing. As far as our BOVs, I don't feel like any valuation that we're doing is just they're getting it and they're like, man, you're way off. They may be, I don't like the price, but I understand where you're coming from, and it looks like maybe we've got a little bit more work to do to get it to where we want to get it. So that's part of those. Doing those valuations is helping you, giving you the information, helping you get to where you want to be, so that we can get you that exit price. It's a little bit more difficult if you've got debt coming due, or if there's other partnership disputes, something like that, to there's more motivation to sell. But I do feel like that bid ask is starting to come in a little bit. And I think, I don't see the kind of the floodgates opening this year. I'm hopeful for next year that the activity and transactions will pick up. But I think for this year, it'll probably stay about like it is, maybe pick up a little bit towards the end of the year.
What are some of the areas that you like right now that you think are maybe up and coming, or kind of good areas to park your money in?
Yeah, so I would say, in Tennessee, Knoxville is probably, one of the top markets. Just not a ton of supply there. Still a lot of job growth, a lot of people moving there. And so I would say that's probably would be, number one on my list for Tennessee. And then next, is probably Chattanooga. And then really anything I would say within an hour of Nashville, like coming to kind of the suburbs of Nashville, are going to be good pockets. It's really where you're finding a more motivated seller. There's always going to be deals there, and when you've got somebody that's got a reason they need to sell, and not just a number that if they can hit, then they're a seller at. Because it's tough to hit those numbers now. But and then in Kentucky, I would say Bowling Green, some strong stories there, and Lexington and Louisville would probably be my top three markets to look at there. Still in some of those markets where you're really chasing in the tertiary markets, is you're still able to come across some mom and pop type owners, or owners that have owned for a while. Maybe haven't done a whole lot to the property. So I feel like those are still some good opportunities. Most of Nashville and even some in Knoxville and Chattanooga are going to be larger owners that that are in the market and own a lot, and they're transacting a lot. So I feel like some of those deals are still kind of tough to come by.
I always like to ask, are you invested? Like, do you own any multifamilies?
Yeah, so I invest with some of my clients, to where, we'll put in some deals or put in some money with them on some stuff. And then I've got a couple of local guys that I invest with on some smaller stuff, or maybe it's a flip or something like that, or, duplex or fourplex, still on the smaller end. So I'm always looking for stuff too that I can put into.
See, but I like that. Like, to me, I don't love working with brokers or even PMs that don't have their own portfolio, because I feel like you have to be like all in on this. Like, I don't golf. I don't have hobbies. My hobbies is buying real estate. So to me, it's like I always enjoy working with a broker or PM that like owns multis. Like, you really get it. To me, if you don't own multifamily property, you can't really understand the trials and tribulations.
Yeah, and it's and I'm pretty open to really anything too. I mean, I've got some a couple of I guess trailer parks, mobile home parks, I guess what you're gonna call them. And I've been looking at those, because there's a few guys that are trying to get me to go in on those too, but I try to kind of stick to what I know the best, and that's multifamily. But yeah, no, definitely always looking, and have a few deals that we own now.
That's fabulous. Who are the sellers right now, and then how are you guys finding them? Because I always see that whenever I check out your website, you guys always have inventory. So who are the people trading right now, and then how are you guys standing out amongst the all the brokers out there?
Yeah, so it's just meetings, as many meetings as we can get on, and still a lot of cold calling, and with some of the junior guys I've got, I'm spending a lot of my time with them, and so it's kind of opened up some opportunities for for new investors for me that I'd never met with, and then um, because you're not kind of when you've been in the business while you're a lot of times you're meeting with some of the same people that you already know, and then you go to a lot of these conferences, you're still meeting with a lot of the same people that you met with over the years, or maybe it's somebody that's in a new role, acquisition role at their company, and so you're kind of playing in the same sandbox. So with some of my junior guys, they're setting up meetings with people I've never met with, and a lot of times that's coming up with new opportunities where they may not know the right question to ask, but I do. And then we get in there, we go in there for one topic, and then it turns into several other opportunities that we didn't even know about. So that's how we're kind of coming up with some things, and that's um, opened up some land sites, and where we went in for some land sites, it's opened up other deals that they had that they were like, well, maybe we should look at selling these. And but most of them have been guys that are just have some scattered deals that are smaller, and they're like, maybe I should. They're kind of a headache to manage. Maybe I should just sell those and just go buy a 100-unit deal, and let somebody and pay somebody else to manage it. I'm getting older now, don't want to handle that. So those are where I feel like there's been some big opportunities here. Um, and then there's always the larger groups that bought a deal here, and they thought they were going to be able to scale and have 1,000 units here within 2 or 3 years. They bought that one deal, and they haven't been able to buy anything else. They haven't been able to scale, so they're like, shoot, we've owned this thing for 3 years. Let's just get rid of it and move on to the next market. So, or maybe they're just not, having the luck here. And like I said, the transactions have been down. So I feel like that's been a common theme on some of the larger deals here. So I think, that's always some opportunity too, because if, they haven't been able to scale here, not able to put their management in place. So they're like, let's just move on.
You said the magic word, acquisition. Right? And Andrew, why don't you tell exactly what we look for, what our buy box is, and just so we could at least know that. And Dixon is a great model, and then we can even share the funny story about Beisler.
Yeah. Well, I think right? So we are in that BC class, we're in that value add. It's a pretty common theme across the industry, right? So we're looking for anything 25 plus units, and something that we can go in and just kind of add some value right away.
Right. So, and then, excuse me, go ahead.
No, go.
No, I was going to say, yeah, and I think, because you guys are, the Dyersburg and Dixon are the two that you have here, right?
Yeah, I think less than a year we grabbed two of them, and and I wanted to unpack. Because you said earlier, people had trouble scaling there. I was curious to see what you find are people's biggest obstacles of scaling. But yeah, we have the Dyersburg 51 that you were a part of, and I'd love to hear what you saw on the seller side. And then we closed maybe 2 months ago 56 in Dixon.
Yep. Yeah. So the Dyersburg was I've known that seller for a while, and they're a large. They own, I think, around 4,500 units across, really West Tennessee, Mississippi, kind of a lot of the tertiary markets. But they're out of state, but they own, they self-manage all of that. Have never sold. That was the first deal they've sold in years.
Really?
Guys, yeah. So they are typically never sellers, and that's but they've been buying. They bought several deals in the last 12 months or so, and but yeah, that deal was just kind of right conversation, right time with them, and they were like, what, maybe we this is it was a smaller deal for them, so they were like, yeah, maybe we should see about selling it and letting it go, because I figured sell that one, that would open up other stuff. And they were just, they were like, yeah, we're probably, not going to sell anything for a few more years and all of this. But, but I think that was one of their first deals that they had bought, in Tennessee. And, so just, and it was one of their smaller ones in their portfolio. So it just made sense for them to get rid of it. So I feel like that's, that's kind of the opportunity that you're looking for is, a group that maybe it's it's their smallest property in the portfolio, or it's their, kind of the deal that's probably causing them the most headache, things like that. And that's where you find the opportunity, because they're like, you know what, we can get out of this thing, make a little bit of money, move on. That's all we need. Where if, you're going to somebody and they're like, I don't really want to sell, but if you get me this number, I'm a seller.
That's not a real seller. Not a real seller.
Exactly. So, and that's the conversations I hear a lot right now is like, hey, if you can get me this number, then I'm a seller. And I'm like, well, of course you are. Like, that's a unrealistic number.
Yeah, I think we all are. Everything's for sale at the right price, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, so that's, that's somebody that's looking for, the needle in the haystack buyer to come through and buy their property. But, this one was like, hey, let's sell it and move on. So I think you're seeing opportunity there. Like as I was going back with people that weren't able to scale, it's, they bought kind of when the market was hot here, and they're like, oh, I'll keep buying here. This is, everybody wants to be in Nashville. And then just weren't able to pick up any other deals, whether it was they just weren't able to win them when they were on market, or there just hasn't been that much inventory there, or, they're larger groups, so their buy box is very small and they have to check all of those boxes.
Yeah.
Where like a group like you guys, you can look outside the box. So if I tell you like, hey, I got this deal, here's the challenges with it, this is, I think there's opportunity here, but these are the things you gotta, you kind of got to overlook, or this is the hair on the deal. And, if you're creative and you can work around those things, then I think that's where the opportunity is to get some deals, where a lot of groups just have to pass because they're like, oh, it's got this, I can't, we can't deal with it, or, it's got this, it's not going to work for us. That's mainly what I hear when deals don't work. It's, it's this doesn't fit what we can do, and it's, it's a non-starter for us, we're moving on. So they really don't dive deep into it or get in the weeds, and they just really pass over something that could be a good opportunity. So, but I feel like that's where you can be a lot more competitive, to where you kind of go in and think, with not blinders on and just open-minded, and let's see how we can, let's solve a problem here and figure out how we can do it. And then if it still doesn't work, it's not saying that you got to buy every deal that's got hair on it, but if you can, be a little bit more open-minded to it, look at it, then a lot of times you might be able to find some opportunity there that that others would pass on.
And that's why we think that we separate ourselves from a lot of the competition. Is we're small and we're nimble and we're funded. And really, there's only two people who have to like the deal, Anthony and myself, and more of it is Anthony because he's the underwriter and CPA. I'm going to look at it at high level, but if the numbers work, we move quick and we're able to lock something down. And if there's a good story and it makes sense, we're able to do it. And the Dyersburg deal, that's our perfect buy box. It was 50 units, 51 units. It was a value add, right? And there wasn't a ton of CapEx on the exterior. So we were able to say, okay, it's going to cost us maybe $500,000 to put $8,000 to $10,000 into the units. And by us putting the money into the units, I think I even sent you the pictures, we've been able to achieve a higher rent. And a lot of the 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 3-bedrooms, they were $150, $200 off of the market, which the old landlord probably just didn't care and didn't want to waste time or money to renovate it. So for us, it fit perfect into what we're looking for.
Right. And you guys got that one off market, from what I remember, right?
Well, I'm sorry, it lapsed. What'd you say?
So, that one was brought to you off market too, right?
It was off market, yeah. I don't think it was out on CoStar or on LoopNet or any of those sites.
Yeah. So that's great, and that's going back to building those broker relationships. Like, obviously we closed the deal. You closed the deal with another broker on that one. Like, those are just you're going to start getting more deals that coming your way, and that's how you get it. And but I like both of those markets, and there's really no new supply in either of those markets. So like I think for years to come, you're gonna be in a good spot there. For both of those, and remind me again on the management side. Are you guys doing that in house too, or?
Yeah, so on the management side, we have a local PM that we have a relationship with right in Dyersburg. They're actually in Dyersburg, and they own they manage a decent amount. They also own their own multis. So for us, it was kind of just like the perfect storm. We had someone that we had a relationship with, we trusted them, we knew them. So in those rural areas, it's difficult to try to manage and find good management there. So we were really lucky to kind of have a relationship right there. So it was a perfect first acquisition out of New York and into Tennessee.
Right. Yeah, and I feel like that's always kind of the case with some of those tertiary markets. It's always tough with management, and that's the most important piece. So if you've got somebody good there, then as you start growing, then I feel like you got a good partner there to continue that. So and that may be another reason that other buyers may overlook some of those markets, because they're like, oh, who am I going to get to manage it? Well, you've already got that figured out. So if you find the deal, you're able to hop on it.
Absolutely. And then Dixon is a similar buy box, but it was a story, kind of like what you said before. It's a 44-unit complex, really 56. 12 of the units were flooded in the Waverly floods and haven't been rebuilt. So for us, our value add component was purchase it. We already hired a civil engineer prior to closing that is building us basically an oversized retaining wall with a pump system to protect it in case there's ever another flood. And then we're going to renovate the 12 units, bring them on market, and then we only paid for 44 units. We took a 44 and brought it to a 56, and now we've created so much value there.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's pretty good then. All right. What's the timeline of that?
We're hoping that we could get it up and running within a year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, looks like we found our contractor to do the 12 fully gutted renovations. It's so different than New York. They said that we could have our permit the same day.
Yeah.
I own a property that I bought 3 years ago. I'm still waiting for permits.
Wow.
So it's a whole different ball game. They said we could have it in one day. We're finally got the renovation budget dialed in, and now we're just waiting for them to sign off on this huge wall. I don't know if I can send you pictures I didn't send you, and then we can get those 12 units. So we're hoping that within a year we can have the 12 units online and rented.
And they say us Southerners are slow.
You guys are unbelievable. So it's like our buy box is those properties. We love that 50 unit with a little hair and a value add that needs to be put onto it.
Okay, great. What would you say? I mean, what's kind of the budget on those complete gut rental jobs? Like what are you budgeting for to have those completed?
On the gut rentals, we're right around 30 to 35,000.
Okay. I feel like that's pretty good. Because the reason I brought that up is I met with someone yesterday out at their property, and they were moving pretty slow, but they're doing it themselves, kind of thing. And they said that they were doing it that way to save some money, but judging by what you just said, I don't know if they're saving any money. So so I guess it's probably better if you can get them, even if it does cost a little bit more, to get them done quicker and get them online, start getting them rented. So.
We literally just had this conversation this morning in one of our meetings together was, okay, what is a better way to do it? Is it better to pay less and have it take a little longer, or pay more and have it done quicker? And when we're doing the underwriting, it's pay a little more and get it done quicker, because as soon as we have the product there, we're renting them, right? The 1 bedrooms on the Dixon property, our new target rent is $1,050. We're already getting them into development on turns. So when we bring brand new product to the market in Dixon, I think we'll have no problem getting $1,050 for our ones.
Well, that's really good rent for ones, because that's probably what I just mentioned. that I met, that's what they were getting, and that property was here in Nashville. So so you're getting, so you get a lower basis, but you still get the same rent, so much better returns. So yeah, good job for you guys on that one.
It feels like the national market is just really overbuilt and oversaturated right now. Is that accurate?
It is. The good thing is with Nashville, I mean, it's still the story of Nashville. I mean, it's a cool city. Everybody's, wanting to move here. We still got the 100 people a day moving here. A lot of the job announcements over the years, the Oracle, Amazon, Lance Bernstein, all those, like, most of those companies, all their employees aren't here yet. So maybe they announced that there was, ever how many thousands of jobs coming, and they announced those 2-3 years ago. So you just assume they're already here, but they're still building a lot of those, offices and everything. So they're not here yet. So once they fully get here, that's going to help absorb all that, and then on top of, just the normal 100 people a day moving here kind of thing. In most of that new development and oversaturations here in downtown kind of area. So it's over the next 12 months, I think a good portion of that will get absorbed. We're starting to see it now. I mean, one of the guys that works for me, he moved here right out of college, and he got a sweet deal on a high-rise apartment here, and he was one of the first ones to move in it, so they gave 4 months free rent or something like that. It was something crazy, and I was like, yeah, don't expect that when you get ready to renew. And he just renewed, and I think his rent went up like $400 a month. So they still wouldn't be giving those if they didn't need to. So I feel like the concessions are starting to come back in a little bit. So that's a good positive sign. But yeah, it's tough to really forecast much rent growth. I think if you're buying a deal now for the next year at least, I mean, I don't see how unless you just get a property that has not been touched, and you've got a mom and pop owner that knows all their tenants, and they don't want to pull up the rent on Betsy because she's lived there for 20 years. So you don't see many of those stories anymore. But I feel like that's really the only way you can kind of come in and get that true rent growth off the bat.
Absolutely. We're starting to run out of time, so I'm going to wrap it up. What else should people know about you that maybe we didn't go through today that is interesting? What else should people know?
Yeah. So I mean, just as far as
personally, what you give me, like what are some of your hobbies? Do you have any kids? What else are you into besides multifamily real estate?
Yeah. So no, not married, no kids, girlfriend, great girl. Just got a puppy together. So
wow, that's step one. That's how my wife got me. Got a dog, and then it was like, you want a second dog or kids? And I'm like, all right, let's just do kids.
Yeah, well, I mean, all my friends have kids, and I'm complaining about this puppy, and they're like, "Oh, wait till you have kids," and I'm like,
"Puppy's more work." They're lying to you. A puppy's more work.
Yeah, yeah, he's into everything, that's for sure. But so that was the first step there. We recently got that, and then but as far as about me, I'm a big golfer, love to golf. So I play all over. Just got back from North Carolina and played in a father-son golf tournament with my dad.
Nice.
So that was a lot of fun. Spent a little bit of time with him, and we competed pretty well. Didn't win, but I feel like we had a good showing. And then just traveling around, as much as I can, and then exploring Tennessee as much as I can. It's a lot of pretty places here, and lots of good things to do, lots of great restaurants. So just try to explore as much as we can, and in the free time that I do have, and work out. And that's pretty much been my story and all that here.
I love it. How can our listeners find you? What's the best way to get in touch with you, find you, if they're interested in selling an asset or potentially investing in multifamily in Tennessee?
Yeah, so they can just go to our website at Franklin Street, and obviously I'm here in Nashville, so they can search my name, and I've got all my contact with my cell phone and email, and just reach out to me, and whether it's me or one of the guys on my team, we're always, one of us is always here in Nashville, and we're meeting with owners and investors all the time, so and if not going to be in town, always love to set up a Teams meeting or a Zoom call, just to get a little face-to-face interaction and learn more about what you're looking for, and how we can help. And we put together quarterly reports for all the markets that we cover, so we'd love to get you on our at least our mailing list for that, just so you can kind of stay in tune with what we're seeing in the market, trades, what rents are doing, job announcements, things like that. It's always helpful to get, and a lot of our clients get a lot of benefit out of it.
Fabulous. I love it. Listen, you were an amazing guest. I really want to appreciate you carving out 45 minutes to an hour to talk about with us. Self-serving. Anthony and myself are actively looking for something, so if you see anything that fits the value add that we're looking for in a secondary, tertiary market, 25 to 75 units, please give us a call. We are trying to see if we can close one more deal before the end of the year. Our investors are all over us, so if anything comes across your plate, please reach out to us.
Yeah, I definitely will. I know you guys are closers, and I feel pretty confident we'll get something here again soon, and hopefully this year.
Fabulous. I'm going to be in Tennessee in October, so I'll hit you up if I'm passing through. We'll either grab a drink or have lunch.
Yeah, I'd love that. So yeah, definitely let me know, and and thank you again for having me on the podcast. It was a big honor.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's our pleasure, and thanks for giving us our first opportunity, because you always gotta get yourself in the game. So we appreciate you being a part in the first opportunity, even though we didn't know it until we got back on the phone. And I gotta tell everyone that we appreciate that opportunity, and I think we're gonna definitely do some deals in the future.
Yep, absolutely. I feel confident on it as well.
All right, Wilson. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Have a good day.